You land in the Serengeti at 6:14 a.m., and the first thing that happens is that your brain makes a catastrophic mistake. Not a small mistake, not a recoverable mistake. The kind of mistake that your species has not been punished for in 4.5 million years. Because the last time any creature with your genome stood in grass that looked like this, the rules were completely different. The grass is right. The acacias are right. The red soil smell after last night's rain, that is in your DNA in a way that goes deeper than memory. Your threat assessment system, instead of firing at maximum alarm the way it should, drops to moderate familiar. The setting it uses for known environments, safe environments. You are Australopithecus afarensis, 3.5 feet tall, 80 pounds, brain volume of 450 cubic centimeters, small by modern standards, extraordinary for your era. You need 2,000 calories a day to function. You have 0. And you are standing in the middle of a landscape that your genome is telling you is home, and your genome is 4.7 million years out of date. And in approximately 17 minutes, that is going to matter enormously. Here is the question the simulation is asking. What happens when the most dangerous thing is not the predator you don't recognize, but the one you think you already know? Stay with me, because the answer is not what you expect, and it starts right now. Day 1, 6:14 a.m. Calories, 0. The recognition trap. The smell hits in layers. Red soil first, ferrous, dry wet from last night's rain exact. Then grass seed heads moving in the east wind. Then distant water, a waterhole maybe 600 meters north-northwest, and your body turns toward it before your brain has consciously registered the signal. Then something else, something large, herbivore, north. The faint biological signature of a herd. Your foraging system flags it. Food adjacent, investigate. You start walking. Upright, easy stride. The gait your species developed over millions of years on this exact substrate. You look, to any observer, like you belong here, like you've always been here. You identify the fig tree 400 meters north in under 90 seconds, a mature Ficus sycamorus, heavy with fruit, the kind of reliable caloric source your cognitive map files under high priority. You identify a group of Thompson's gazelles, 250 meters northeast, moving slowly, not alarmed, which tells you the immediate area around them is predator clear. You identify the wind direction, which matters for scent-based threat detection, and you are moving with it, which is correct. 3 correct assessments in the first 4 minutes. Your environment reading is working exactly as designed. What it has not flagged, because she is 180 meters southwest, downwind, and has been motionless in the grass for 11 minutes, is the lioness. She is 3 years old, 280 pounds. She has never seen anything that moves the way you move. Upright, slow, no horns, no speed, no size. Her prey assessment system is running a very simple calculation. Unknown bipedal, small, isolated, no defensive structure. The calculation takes approximately 4 seconds to resolve. You have until 6:31 a.m. Day 1, 6:31 a.m. Calories, 0. The math on this is not good. She moves and you detect it at 3 seconds, which is the absolute lower limit of useful reaction time. Your fight or flight detonates at full power. Cortisol, adrenaline, every system that matters redirected to the single problem of not dying in the next 8 seconds. You run. Australopithecus afarensis at full sprint covers roughly 12 miles per hour. A lioness in pursuit reaches 50 miles per hour inside 4 strides. The math on this is not good. What saves you is the acacia 22 meters to your left, which your legs identify and redirect toward approximately half a second before your conscious cognition processes why. You hit the trunk at full speed and go up in 1.8 seconds. The lioness hits the base at 2.1 seconds. She cannot climb this tree efficiently. Her body weight and claw geometry make it possible but slow, and she knows slow means missed prey. She circles once, she sits, she waits. You are 14 feet up, clinging to a branch, heart rate at levels your cardiovascular system would prefer not to sustain. Below you, 280 pounds of apex predator, patient in the way that only animals with no deadlines can be. She is not angry. She is not frustrated. She is just calculating, and the calculation says that you have to come down eventually, and that eventually is worth waiting for. She waits for 22 minutes, then she leaves. You wait another 40 minutes after that. Because leaving when a lion leaves is how prey animals get caught by lions that didn't actually leave. This is knowledge your genome carries. You use it correctly. You come down at 8:01 a.m. You have consumed 0 calories. The fig tree is still 400 meters north. The lioness is somewhere in the grass between you and it, direction unknown. And somewhere to the southeast, a smell is building that your threat library files under a category that makes the lioness situation look manageable by comparison. But that's a problem for 3:20 p.m. Right now, the immediate question is how you cross 400 meters of open grass when you don't know where the lion is. Day 1, 8:01 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. Calories, 340, the foraging window. Here is what Australopithecus afarensis actually does well, and it's worth understanding before the afternoon arrives. You spend the next 7 hours solving problems that your genome was specifically built to solve. Movement through grass using tree-to-tree corridors, never more than 30 meters from the nearest climbable trunk. Reading bird alarm calls, the specific 2-note sequence that fork-tailed drongos make when a ground predator enters their territory, which is different from the alarm they make for aerial threats, and you know the difference without knowing that you know it. Identifying microhabitats. The dense fig canopy means reliable fruit. The termite mound means tubers underneath. The dry streambed means subsurface water if you dig in the right place. Your cognitive map of this 600-meter radius is being built in real time, and it is genuinely impressive. By mid-morning, you have eaten figs, 180 calories. By noon, tubers dug from the streambed bank, 90 calories. By 2 p.m., insects from a termite mound exposed by something's earlier digging, 40 calories. A small lizard that didn't move fast enough, 30 calories. Running total, 340 calories against a daily requirement of 2,000. The math is not good. It is, however, better than 0, and you are building the territorial map that could, over time, bring the math closer to workable. What you cannot do alone, and what the caloric deficit is making increasingly clear, is cover the foraging area that 20 individuals would cover together. Your group's combined ranging in the Pliocene would have tracked resources across several square kilometers simultaneously, with sentinel individuals freeing others to forage without constant threat monitoring. Every calorie you've collected today cost you 2 or 3 minutes of threat scanning time that, in a group, would have been someone else's job. You are running group-optimized software in single-user mode. The performance hit is not subtle. And at 3:20 p.m., the afternoon shift arrives, and the afternoon shift is worse than the morning. Day 1, 3:20 p.m. Calories, 340, the hyena calculation. Spotted hyenas are not what your genome expected. Your Pliocene ancestors coexisted with the ancestral hyena fauna of East Africa, real threats, real predators, animals your social group had behavioral protocols for. But Crocuta crocuta, the modern spotted hyena, is the product of 4.5 million additional years of refinement. They are arguably the most cognitively sophisticated large predator on the African continent. They have clan social structures of genuine complexity, cooperative hunting strategies, and, this is the part that matters at 3:20 p.m., an extraordinary ability to identify isolated vulnerable prey and execute the most patient, low-cost predation strategy available to them, waiting. 4 of them find you at the waterhole. You detect them at 80 meters, which is a real achievement given the wind and background noise, and you go up the nearest tree inside 2 seconds. A smaller acacia this time, thinner branches, adequate for your weight, deeply uncomfortable for any sustained period. The hyenas do not leave. They are not built for leaving. They establish a loose perimeter and begin the calculation. Energy cost of waiting versus energy cost of a failed chase. The math always resolves the same way for isolated prey. Waiting wins. The rule, the one your species refined across thousands of generations of coexistence with ancestral hyenas, was never designed for solo application. It was Group stands together. Group makes coordinated noise. Group throws things. Group looks large. A coordinated display from 20 individuals backed by thrown debris will break hyena patience inside 4 minutes. One individual in a tree does not break their patience at all. You wait, they wait. You are there until 5:40 p.m., which costs you the entire afternoon foraging window and drops your end-of-day caloric total to 340 calories. Your daily requirement is 2,000. The deficit for day 1 is 1,660 calories. Your body will begin drawing on fat reserves, then muscle tissue, then cognitive function. This is not a future problem. This is a math problem that started 6 hours ago and is now compounding. And tomorrow something is going to change about the way this landscape works against you, but not in the direction you want. Day 2, 5:50 a.m. Calories 0. New day. What the genome builds overnight. You slept in the tree. Fragmented semi-alert cycles of 40 to 60 minutes each. The sleep architecture that arboreal primates use when they cannot guarantee safety below. Research on extant great apes suggests this pattern is ancient and deeply embedded. Your genome runs it automatically in elevated threat conditions, which last night qualified as entirely. You are rested in the technical sense, you are not rested in any meaningful sense. But here is what happened while you weren't sleeping. Your brain, running threat assessment and pattern recognition, continuously even in reduced alert rest states, processed the previous day's data and produced 3 behavioral outputs that were not present yesterday morning. First, you are moving before full sunrise in the window between 5:50 and 6:30 a.m. when nocturnal predators are retreating and diurnal predators haven't yet reached peak activity. There is a roughly 20-minute gap in threat density that your genome did not know existed here, but that your experience of yesterday's dawn has identified. You are exploiting it. Second, your movement is now strictly tree to tree, never in the open for more than 8 seconds, and you have mentally mapped every climbable trunk within your foraging radius. Third, you are caching. Figs wedged into a branch fork 12 feet up, tubers pressed into a root hollow and covered with bark. Small caloric deposits distributed across your territory, because the single-source foraging model keeps getting interrupted by predators, and distribution reduces the loss from any single interruption. Whether Australopithecus afarensis cached food consistently is debated in the literature. You are doing it now unprompted, because your problem-solving architecture generated the solution from first principles overnight. This is not genius. It is smart. It is exactly the cognitive flexibility that made your lineage the one that survived when 24 other hominid species didn't. What it cannot fix is this. By day 2 afternoon, you have started making calls. Not alarm calls, not the sharp, involuntary sounds that fire when a predator is detected. Social calls. The ones your species uses for group cohesion, contact maintenance, the constant low-level communication that says, "I am here. Where are you?" You make them in the late afternoon, which is when your group would consolidate before moving to the sleep site. You make them without appearing to notice you're making them. No answer comes back. The savanna returns wind, bird noise, and the movement of a herd that does not speak your language and never did. And the calls keep coming every evening, because the software that runs them does not have an off switch for the absence of a group. It just runs. It just asks the question, into nothing, every night. But before we get to what the isolation does to you over time, on day 4 something arrives that resets the threat calculus entirely, and it weighs 13,000 pounds. Day 4, 9:15 a.m. Calories, 290, current day. The elephant problem. The modern Serengeti holds approximately 7,000 African bush elephants, Loxodonta africana, largest land animal on Earth, up to 13,000 pounds, cognitive capacity that researchers rank second only to humans and possibly great apes in social complexity, long-term memory, and problem-solving. Elephants remember routes across hundreds of kilometers. They communicate in infrasound frequencies below your hearing range. They have matriarchal family structures, documented grief responses, and a behavioral category for things that are in places they should not be. Your Pliocene ancestors shared this landscape with ancestral proboscideans, different species, similar rules. Stay clear. Don't approach calves. Never position yourself between a mother and her young. These rules exist in your behavioral architecture, transmitted through millions of years of hard experience. What your behavioral architecture assumed, when it built those rules, was that you had a group to enforce them with. The matriarch of an 11-elephant family group arrives at your fig tree at 9:15 a.m. because the figs are ripe and elephants eat figs, and this fig tree is in their range in a way that overrides any prior claim you have established in the last 4 days. She is 53 years old, 9,200 pounds, and she walks like weather. Not aggressive, not threatening, simply inevitable. You are up the tree in under 2 seconds. She stops at the base, looks up at you with the specific quality of attention that very old, very intelligent animals deploy on things they cannot immediately categorize, and then resumes eating figs from the lower branches. Her family spreads through the area. 2 juveniles play 15 meters from your trunk. The second-ranking female positions herself between you and the direction of the waterhole. You are not trapped by aggression. You are trapped by mass. 13,000 pounds of matriarch plus family, plus the resource territory she is simply using, the way mountains use space, without discussion, without negotiation, without any mechanism for you to present your case. You wait. She eats figs for 2 hours and 19 minutes. Your caloric window for the morning closes completely. When she finally moves northwest with her family, you come down and find the fig tree stripped of everything within reach. You find 2 damaged figs on the ground and eat them in 30 seconds. That is 80 calories. Your running total for day 4 is 370 calories by 11:30 a.m., and the morning is already gone, and the afternoon belongs to the hyenas. Your cognitive function has been measurably degrading since day 2. Threat assessments that took 3 seconds on day 1 are taking 5 seconds now. The caloric math is compounding against you, and it knows it, and it does not care. And what you're going to have to do this afternoon, the decision the deficit is forcing, is the most dangerous thing you've done since the lioness on day 1, because the risk calculation has changed. Staying safe costs more calories than it costs to take risks, and taking risks in this landscape means what it has always meant. You wait for the hyenas to shift. You study the waterhole approach for 40 minutes. You identify a corridor. And then at 3:45 p.m. on day 4, with your cognitive function running at something like 60%, and your body drawing on reserves it cannot sustainably draw on, you do the thing the simulation was always going to make you do eventually. You go into the open, you move fast, you calculate the gap. And for the next 11 minutes, the question is not whether you survived the Serengeti. The question is whether the Serengeti notices you made the bet. It does, just not in the way that ends everything, this time. Day 6. Dusk. The honest answer. You are alive. That is the honest answer. 6 days in the landscape your genome was written for, and you are alive. Caloric deficit accumulated across the week sits at roughly 7,000 calories. Your body has metabolized fat reserves and begun drawing on lean tissue, which is not immediately dangerous, but is a trajectory with a known end. You have survived 4 predator encounters. You have adapted your foraging pattern in 3 measurable ways. You have built a cognitive map of your territory that is genuinely functional. You have done things that your species has not been observed doing individually in controlled conditions. You are sitting in your tree. The fork at 22 feet, the one your body found on day 1 and has returned to every night since, the way animals build home out of whatever is available. The sun is going below the western acacia line. The sky transitions through the color spectrum that your visual system codes as safe window, the 40 minutes between when the diurnal threats reduce and the nocturnal threats begin their shift. The sounds of the savanna at dusk are in you, every call, every species, the exact rhythm of this biological clock. 4.5 million years of coevolution, written into your nervous system so deeply that you feel the landscape even when you cannot see it. You know this place. You know it the way you know your own heartbeat. And it doesn't know you anymore, not because it became hostile. The savanna is not hostile. Hostility requires preference, and the savanna has none. It runs the same calculations it has always run. Energy in, energy out, predator-prey ratios, resource distribution, and you are a variable it is solving for the same way it solves for everything, efficiently, without memory of what you used to be to it. The group would have made this work, not easily. Never easily, not in the Pliocene, not now. But the group was not a lifestyle feature. It was load-bearing architecture. 20 individuals meant 20 threat detectors, 20 foragers, 20 sources of caloric contribution, the distribution of risk that makes individual risk survivable, the accumulated behavioral knowledge that doesn't die when one individual dies. Without the group, you're running at 30% of designed capacity. The other 70% is not missing. It's just in 20 other places that don't exist here. You make the call again. The social vocalization, the one that means, I am here, where are you? You've made it every evening for 6 days. You make it at the same time, in the same direction, from the same tree, with the consistency of a signal that still believes, on some level below cognition, that the answer is coming. Nothing comes back. And here is the thing that will stay with you after this video ends. The gap between that call going unanswered in the Serengeti on day 6 and every form of communication, coordination, and accumulated knowledge that made you capable of watching this video, that gap is not primarily about intelligence. It is not about tool use or language or technology, though all of those matter. It is about who answered the call, who kept answering, who wrote down what they knew so that the next individual didn't have to learn it from scratch, who stayed in the group when leaving would have been easier. Everything that came after you is downstream of that. Every tool, every word, every city, every video about a small primate in a tree, calling into a savanna that no longer recognizes her name. The wind brings nothing back tonight, but something 4.7 million years from now sitting in a room watching a screen hears it. Hit like and subscribe, and go watch what happens when we run the same simulation and give Australopithecus afarensis the one thing she didn't have here. The result is completely different, and you already know why.